the village. I caught a glimpse of the tank's commanding officer. He was eating an apple, sitting on the top of the tank as it charged down the concrete road toward us. Ernestinovo is a very small village, beautifully designed, with a major intersection, the main road going through the middle. It was quite artistic village, famous for its annual wood sculpture exhibition. People had been happy living there. However, they felt the burn of the war much more than my city, as they were surrounded by villages occupied by the rebels and the Yugoslav People Army. We parked in front of command post. There was a school nearby, so we all went inside to relax. I was conscious of so many different types of uniforms, units and weapons. Many of the weapons were not made in the 80s or 90s, but relics from the Second World War. The Croatian Army and the Ministry of Interior, Special Forces, had a liking for armored vehicles, tanks, infantry, transports, aircraft vehicles. In fact, they liked all forms of vehicles that could offer some protection from bullet and shrapnel. Then I saw how ingenious people were. There were no tanks made in the backyard and garages, but armored vehicles. Yes, absolutely. They would take the chassis of 5-ton truck and add 2 centimeters of thick steel plated armor with opening to poke weapons through. They looked pretty good painted in camouflage and were actually quite powerful, although nothing compared to the People's Army weapon system and properly armored vehicles. However, we believed in what had been made and that it would provide some type of protection. We could imagine all the rebels and the Yugoslav People Army laughing when they saw this through their binoculars. What they couldn't see was that every vehicle was made with pride and dignity. Personally, I couldn't believe we were going to war in those trucks. We went into a classroom thinking about what was going to happen, what was going to be done and how. Then I heard a new sound, a different type of shelling. This was mortar fire, falling sporadically around the village. From my knowledge, the enemy was measuring distance and marking homes or objects. They didn't know exactly where we are, so they tried to cover the entire length of the road. They knew we were going to start moving to the neighboring village of Laslovo. It was only a few kilometers from Ernestinovo, but it was through an open field. In war conditions, you were like a sitting duck if you were on the road. We knew that we needed to go to Laslo later that day. For a few hours, while it was quiet, we relaxed in the classroom and I fell asleep for just a brief moment. It felt like any other day, with the smell of the flowers, green trees and lush vegetation around the school. While we were relaxing, some units who had prepared armored vehicles in front of the school were bringing in their ammunition and necessities. Suddenly, out of the blue, an alarm was raised and we rushed outside to where the handmade armored trucks was. We climbed inside. It was very dark and cold in the truck. This was it. We started traveling. As soon as we came out of the village and into the open, all I felt was tick, tick, tack of bullets hitting the handmade armor. Some of the guys pulled out smokes. As well as a sporadic ricocheting of bullets, you could hear mortars falling. They fell with a deep sound that was an almost operatic boom, boom, boom. The drive was quick, and suddenly we stopped in Laslovo. People came to speak to driver, recognized him and the vehicle. I was completely unaware anything was happening. As soon as we came out, the shooting started from every possible side. I couldn't see anybody. It's not like in the movies where you can easily see the enemy. I didn't know what was going on. Everybody was looking for cover. Everybody. Some went into ditches in front of houses. Some stayed in the truck, and others ran into nearby homes. Interestingly, we all knew where each other went. A few minutes later, we organized ourselves on the side of the street, the side that had not been shelled or shot up. It was a terrifying experience to see homes with no roofs. Wires had been cut, and blood, bandages, and bullet cases were strewn everywhere. As we walked about 1.5 kilometers down the streets, there were 3 motors being operated by women who were selflessly trying to stop the attack from the next village where the rebels were. Bullets were raining down on us, and I couldn't believe the courage of these young women, or the fact they were still smiling when they saw us. We progressed to the command post, where their commanding officer spoke to our commanding officer. They divided us into groups. My group was to take position in the center village on the road. They said that there was impending attack from one side. There was one concrete road and small bridge that hadn't been hit. So it was thought that where attack would came from. As I was rushing into position, I saw everybody's fear for the first time. Bullets were flying. I didn't know what was going on. I tried to keep as low as possible. I tried to stay undercover like a ninja, crawling with all that ammunition and a heavy machine gun. Behind me, my aide was crawling so slowly. I saw that his eyes were full of tears. Eventually, we reached our position. It was only possible position as we couldn't retreat into the village. We had to cut off the village on the main road that we had come through. We were going to be stuck forever. We are going to be stuck here forever. I knew that the Croatian army didn't have much manpower or equipment to help. But for a moment, it felt like I was in a mini Stalingrad. I'd learned I was Stalingrad at school, this huge battle where the Germans lay siege to the city of Stalingrad in southern Russia. The Germans were fierce and relentless, taking 2 million casualties. No mercy was shown to anyone. A few times in war, I felt the same horrific feeling with the goosebumps covering every centimeter of my skin. Were we going to end like Stalingrad? Is that what falling would look like? Of course, you can't compare the scale or size of the village to the city of Stalingrad. I remember that we lay low and waited and waited. It was 4 p.m. The sun was slowly going down. You could feel the sweat was drying up on your skin. And there was dirty smell of the uniform. The other clear smell was the cleaning oil in your weapon. I prepared my position and studied everything about it. There were big gaps between me and the other soldiers to my left and right. Of course, my 30-kilo machine gun and 5,000 bullet machine gun could be in the first position to attack. It was just me and my aide. A few meters from me, the other boys were digging deep and hiding themselves so they could have a smoke. Some were lying on their backs and looking up the sky. Looking around me, everybody was from the same neighborhood or high school. Nobody, parents were politicians or company directors from positions of privilege. I wondered, how come there wasn't anyone well educated among us? Of course, well-educated people don't fight on front line. Their parents hide their children and take advantage of their good positions in government companies. They wouldn't send their children into war. It was just us, ordinary Mr. Nobodies. We waited. Who knows what was going through everybody's head? Even I can't remember. But I do know I was afraid. I needed to kill the fear as the bullets were flying over our heads. Then I heard the boisterous sound of a tank. I heard the T-55 charging at a full speed towards us from 700 meters away. I could smell the diesel from its exhaust pipes. When the tank was around 300 meters away, I caught a glimpse of the tank's commanding officer. He was eating an apple, sitting on the top of the tank as it charged down the concrete road toward us.